What happens when a passion project goes wrong? Super Mario was a huge part of my childhood, so making a sculpture of him was deeply personal. But things didn't go as planned, and what should have been a simple and easy project to celebrate him took an unexpected turn. My name is Holo, and here's how it all unfolded. Part 1. Let's make the face. Yes, the face. The reason why is because making the face is the hardest part of any sculpture. So if you have a face that kinda resembles the character you're trying to make, then you're in luck. You have a sculpture. There's no worse feeling than making the entire body and then having a face that looks absolutely horrible. Trust me, I know. And because we're making a cartoony looking character, then there's no fear of making the head a little too big or small, since it's nothing realistic. This is a very easy and nice character to make a sculpture of, well, supposedly. And also, time for a confession. This was my very first time working with oven-baked clay instead of air-dry clay. And let me tell you, I couldn't be happier I made the change. Not without a couple of accidents along the way, but more on that later. Yes, the title and thumbnail of this video was not clickbait. This was also my first time sculpting a full body character, so new clay and pretty much everything was brand new. So no pressure. Part 2, let's make the body. Time to move on to make his body, and for that we're going to start with a shape that looks like an avocado. I don't know why, but it just works. After thinking I'm too cool to make an armature, I realized that the pros do things in a certain way for a certain reason. Please learn from me. Being lazy is great, but not to the point that when trying to be lazy you end up having to work twice as much. Part 3, let's try that one more time. Thankfully for you, at this point of my sculpting journey, I was obsessed with time lapses, so it doesn't really look like that big of an issue, but it was. That's pretty much the moment I realized I would have to make armatures for the rest of my life. Yep. After making the overall silhouette, which is the first most important part at this point, you can start adding some details, like the overalls and some indications for the clothes. Nothing pretty as of right now, since we are adding everything to see how it would work. Kinda like a sketch when drawing. Adding some folds to the clothes will always make any character look a million times better without you having to put too much effort into it, which is a win-win for us artists. Now, quick tip. To make any character look more cartoony, just focus on shapes, especially making everything round, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. Adding more gentle and softer features will always be the right call for a character like Mario. Now I'm adding more details to the face and seeing if I can make this work. It is at this point where I've added everything that things become more difficult to explain. Since I'm not focused on one thing or the other, I'm moving around the entire piece because I don't want to develop tunnel vision. Just add or remove clay where you see necessary and take breaks from time to time to come back to it with some fresh pair of eyes. Now that I'm really liking how it's looking, here are some tips for you that I wish I knew back then, so you can make an even better sculpture than me. Although Mario is looking nice, it could look a million times better if the entire sculpture was smoother. And to smooth oven-baked clay, you should always use some isopropyl alcohol, which will remove all fingerprints, and from time to time, smooth everything with your fingers. Which, yes, it's something I didn't think of back then. A true professional. Adding some more details that surely no one is going to appreciate besides me, but that will distract everyone to the point their eyes will go, yep, detail. Adding the colors because he looked like he didn't have a neck. And also, what's Mario without his, mullet? I don't know, all I know is he looked weird without some hair sticking out of his cap. I want you to take a closer look at him and how great he used to look, because unfortunately for me, the title and thumbnail in this video were not clickbait. Part 4. Bake. You see, to start painting oven-baked clay, you need to, well, bake it in the oven. And although Sculpey does say the temperature, it doesn't say for how long. So we just decided to wing it. And the result, honestly, couldn't have been worse. Okay, maybe it could have been, but the closer you look and the more I'll tell you about this incident, the more you will understand my pain. Turns out that not only did his iconic cap burn, but it also melted. Yes, melted, causing bubbles and bumps and holes that were not there before. At this point, I was kinda devastated, but being a little in too deep, into making this character, I just had to keep going and try to save it. Part 5. Cry. No, she's right, I should.
Ever since I made this sculpture, I've always baked all my new sculptures for an hour at 275 nonsense.
Sorry, Fahrenheit or 130 Celsius. Always have your character exactly in the middle of the oven without them being so tall that they almost reach the top, or you're going to face the same consequences as I did. Part 6. Add colors.
Getting back to my burnt Mario that will just pretend that he was fighting Bowser. I don't know. We start the painting process by adding some primer.
Then adding blue. Looking back at it,
I now would paint the red parts first, since blue is kind of on top of red and you should paint in order. Now time for the most powerful red in existence.
Because holy damn, that is red. And if you watched last week's video, which you totally should,
you'll know I have a thing for not waiting for paint to dry.
And therefore covering the primer in a darker color, which quite literally defeats the whole purpose of using a primer. I don't know how I'm still alive. Seriously, looking back at these first couple of videos I recorded, it is rough. While I was painting everything and trying to find the right tone, I also decided to give him a nice, sexy looking mole that is going to hang out with us for a while.
After painting the shoes and pretty much everything, it's time for a second layer of color.
Till it all sticks and there's no signs of any whites.
I'm talking sculpting here, YouTube.
Painting the eyes of the most innocent character ever while listening to some Rammstein is a passion of mine. A shame I couldn't play more of their songs, but a man can only dream of being monetized one day.
It is now, while painting the pupils, that you can clearly notice how much it burned.
It had this crazy dent and I simply felt so defeated. Us artists will never get tired of adding the highlights to the eyes though, since it makes the entire piece come to life a little too fast with a simple step. Even me at that point was pretty happy. Talking about little effort great results, time to add highlights and shadows, plus the iconic M on an otherwise unfortunately destroyed hat. Yes, I will never let this go. And what's Mario without a mushroom? Not that type of mushroom.
This was my favorite part of the entire sculpture.
Because at this point I was so terrified of the oven, I decided to sculpt and paint it without baking it. Yes, I was that scared. So with fear out of the way, you have this very cute little mushroom that I think makes the entire piece come together quite nicely.
As a small but important tip, when making things this small, always make them attached to something with a better grip.
Just like you see here. Otherwise it can fall, of course, but it also allows for more precision. And after being done with painting an adorable mushroom,
that is it from this project.
I don't know if I should consider this a failed sculpture or a success. I mean, it's definitely not a success, but I know I learned a lot from making it, and I'll always appreciate seeing it when I'm sculpting now, noticing how much I've improved. If you would like me to make a sculpture of your profile picture, all you have to do is subscribe, take a screenshot, and send it to me over on Instagram, where, by the way, you will find a lot more content. Let me know what I should sculpt next in the comments down below, and also go watch my first video where things don't go this wrong, and come back again next Friday. Okay? But wait, there's more videos for you to watch right now, so don't wait till next Friday.